Before we kick off tonight's Soccer Bedtime Story, I want to just say how happy we are to be back with you, soccer friends. We had to take a short break. Our computer gave out, and it took us some time to get everything back up and running. But we're here again, and we truly want to keep these stories going. A huge thank you to our bedtime ballers, our monthly supporters who make this podcast possible. You've helped bring us back, and you're the reason these stories reach families all around the world. If your family looks forward to these stories each night, we're asking you to take the next step. Become a bedtime baller today. For just a few dollars a month, less than the cost of a stadium snack, you help us creating new episodes, new moments, and new memories. Without the support, it becomes really hard to keep this going consistently. So if you've ever thought about joining, this is the moment. Head over to Soccer Bedtime Stories and sign up today. Your support truly makes the difference between these stories continuing or going quiet. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at MySoccerBedtime for behind-the-scenes moments, bedtime shoutouts, and more fun with your soccer friends. Alright, boots off. Blankets on. It's time for tonight's story. Hello, soccer friends. Tonight, as the lights grow soft, the blankets get warm, and the world begins to quiet down, we are sending a special hello to soccer friends listening in some wonderful new places. A big shout out to our listeners in Newcastle, Indiana, Glen Cove, New York, Hunstanton, Norfolk, and Ruda Śląska in Poland. Whether you are listening after practice, before bed in the car, or tucked in with your favorite stuffed animal, we are so happy you are part of our soccer bedtime family. We also want to send a very special thank you to Finn and Lewis for sending us voicemail messages. We love hearing from you. Messages like yours remind us that these stories travel far beyond one room, one city, or one country. They travel from soccer friend to soccer friend all around the world. So tonight, take a deep breath in and let it out slowly. Imagine a quiet street in West London. The sky is gray. The houses stand close together. A ball rolls across the pavement, and a young boy gently taps it against a wall. Tap, touch, turn, tap again. There are no roaring crowds yet. No shining stadium lights. No Bayern Munich shirt, no France national team. Just a boy, ball at his feet, and the dream growing quietly inside him. Before the big clubs, before the transfer headlines, before the Champions League nights and the bright lights of the Allianz Arena, he learned the game in the simplest way. A ball, a wall, a little brother chasing after him. A patch of pavement that could become Wembley, the Parc des Princes, or the biggest stadium in the world if he imagined it hard enough. He played against house walls, he dribbled through the tight spaces, he practiced tricks, turns, and touches until the ball seemed to move with him instead of beside him. He's quiet away from the pitch, but when the game began, his feet told a story all of their own. He was different. Some people saw his confidence and did not understand it. Some clubs saw his talent but did not know quite what to do with it. Chelsea let him go. Manchester City did not become home. For a while, the path that once looked so clear became uncertain. But this young man did not need to be loud to be brilliant. He kept going. From the streets of West London to Reading, from Reading to Crystal Palace, From Crystal Palace to Bayern Munich, from early mornings and empty training grounds to some of the biggest stages in world soccer. Tonight's story is about a player who was misunderstood but never stopped believing in his gift. It is about creativity, patience, quiet confidence, and the courage to stay yourself when the world keeps trying to shape you into something else. So close your eyes, soccer friend. Picture the grass beneath your boots, the stars above the stadium, and the left-footed winger gliding past defenders as if the ball were part of him. Tonight we travel to a place where the grass is green and the crowds are loud, to a quiet boy from West London who learned that being different could become his greatest gift. This is Underdogs, the Michael Olise story. On some mornings in West London, the sky looked silver. Clouds drifted low over rooftops, cars rode slowly through narrow streets. The air carried the sound of the city waking up. Doors closing, buses sighing, footsteps tapping along the pavement. And somewhere not too far away, the soft bounce of a soccer ball. Tap, tap, tap. That sound belonged to a boy named Michael Olise. Michael was born in Hammersmith, near the White City area of London, and raised in Hayes, a place where the house stood close together and planes from Heathrow rumbled overhead on their way to places far beyond the city. But before Michael ever traveled to famous stadiums, before the crowds chanted his name, before he wore the shirts of Crystal Palace, Reading, Bayern Munich, or France, his world was much smaller. It was a street, a wall, a ball, and a dream he did not yet need to say out loud. Michael was not the kind of child who had to be the loudest voice in the room. He was quiet, watchful, sometimes hard to read. While other children might run around shouting or trying to grab attention, Michael often seemed to keep something inside himself, as if his thoughts were moving faster than his words. But when the ball rolled to his feet, everything changed. Suddenly, the quiet boy became full of rhythm. He would nudge the ball forward, pull it back, turn his body, and send it softly against the wall. The wall gave it back. Michael controlled it. The wall gave it back again. Michael turned left foot, right foot, a little feint, a quick touch, another turn. The street became his first training ground. The wall became his first teammate. A few bags or jackets became goalposts. A patch of pavement became the stadium in his imagination. One minute, he was in Hayes. The next, he was at Wembley, then in Parc des Princes, then Allianz Arena. All he needed was the ball. Michael's family story stretched far behind one street and one city. From his father's side came England and Nigeria. From his mother's side came France and Algeria. 4 countries, 4 pieces of history, 4 parts of who he was. And Michael carried them all quietly, the way he carried so much else. He just played. And often nearby was his younger brother, Richard. Richard would chase him, trying to win the ball. Michael would slow down, almost teasing him, letting him think the tackle was coming. Then, with one smooth touch, Michael would slip away. Richard would turn, Michael would already be gone. Sometimes he would use the wall, sometimes he would just practice his foot movements. Sometimes he would use the smallest bit of space between a parked car and the edge of the pavement. He learned how to keep the ball close, because the streets did not give him much room. He learned to move quickly because his brother was always coming. He learned how to be clever because in street soccer there is no perfect field and no perfect bounce. The ball might hit a crack in the pavement, a car might pass, someone might walk by. A wall might send the ball back faster than expected, so Michael adjusted. Again and again and again, that was where his game began to take shape. Not in a giant stadium, not under bright lights, not with 1,000 people watching, but in small spaces where imagination mattered. Years later, when fans would see Michael glide across Premier League pitch, when they would see him cut inside on his left foot, when they would see him pause, trick a defender, and curl the ball toward the goal, they were watching something that had started long before. They were watching a boy from Hayes. And though Michael did not know exactly where the game would take him, something was already growing inside him. A quiet belief, a smooth left foot, a different kind of magic. The story had begun. The ball kept rolling. By the time Olise was old enough to join organized teams, people around West London had already begun to notice that he was not an ordinary player. He had started at local clubs like Hayes and Ealing, where coaches saw a quiet child who could suddenly become alive when the ball reached his feet. He's not the loudest before a match, and he's not always the one searching for attention, but once the game began, he seemed to understand spaces that other children did not even see yet. At Hayes and Ealing, Michael's movements still looked like the street football he had grown up playing. He did not charge straight at defenders the way some young players did. He glided, he drifted. He made the ball wait for him, almost as if he were listening for the right movement. Coaches remembered the way he could change direction with a little shift of his body, or how he could make a pass look simple even when the idea behind it was not simple at all. It was not long before bigger clubs came calling. Michael spent time around Arsenal, then joined Chelsea's academy, one of the most famous youth systems in England. For a boy from West London, Chelsea was a giant step. The training pitches were better, the competition was stronger, and every player there carried the same hope. One day, maybe they would walk out of Stamford Bridge in front of thousands of supporters. Michael stayed at Chelsea, and his talent was never the problem. Everyone could see that he had something rare. Being talented and fitting neatly into an academy are not always the same thing. Michael had his own way of seeing the game and his own way of carrying himself. He could be quiet, stubborn, confident, and difficult to read. Some coaches found that challenging. Others understood that his unusual mind was part of what made him special. Still, by the age of 14, Chelsea let him go. For many young players, being released by a club like Chelsea feels like a door slamming shut. The badge disappears, the familiar routine disappears. The dream that once seemed organized and official suddenly feels uncertain. Michael then spent time with Manchester City, another giant club, but that did not become home either. And the scary part is that after City, there was a period when the boy with all that ability did not have a clear place to go. And yet, the street footballer inside him remained. The same player who had once used walls and teammates and narrow pavement as a training ground, and now had to use disappointment as part of his education. He had been at famous clubs and had been told he was not staying, but the ball still felt the same at his feet. It still rolled for him. It still answered when he touched it. That was the beginning of Michael Olise's underdog road, not because he lacked talent, but because the world had not yet figured out how to understand him. After leaving Chelsea and then Manchester City, Michael returned to a quieter kind of football. He was still young, still growing, and still carrying all the skills that had made scouts gather around pitches when he played. But now there was no famous academy badge on his training kit, no simple answer when people asked where he played, no smooth path laid out in front of him. In academy football, the badge on your shirt can feel like proof that people believe in you. It tells the world that you are on the right track. But when the badge is gone, a player has to find belief somewhere else. Michael had to find it in himself, in his family, and in the same quiet confidence that had always lived inside him. He continued to play and train, including through the We Make Footballers program, connected with Coach Sean Conlon, one of the people who understood that Michael's mind worked differently. Online would describe Michael as complicated, but not in a bad way. He saw that Michael had a different way of thinking about football and life, and that difference was tied to his genius. That period mattered because it humbled him without taking away his belief. A less confident player might have tried to become ordinary just to please people. Michael did not. Let's take a quick break at the half. If tonight's story has you hooked, be sure to check out our book, Soccer Mystery Chronicles: The Haunting of St. Mary's Stadium. It's the perfect mix of ghostly secrets, Premier League lore, and sibling sleuthing starring Zosha and Franya. You can find it on Amazon or at soccerbedtimestories.com. And if you want to help us keep telling these stories, become a bedtime baller. It's like getting a warm meat pie and crisps at halftime. A small gift that makes a big difference. Now, let's get back to the pitch. He kept the unusual parts of his game, the pauses, the sky's touches, the sun left-footed movements, the ability to make defenders lean one way before slipping the other. Eventually, a new opportunity arrived through Reading. Darren Richards, a scout who had worked for Tottenham Hotspur, had recommended Michael to Brandon Flanagan, Reading's head of academy recruitment. Reading was not as glamorous as Chelsea or Manchester City, but perhaps that was exactly what Michael needed. He did not need more glamour, he needed a place that would allow him to grow. So in 2016, Michael Olise arrived at Reading on trial. He was not coming in as a finished starter. He was coming in as a teenager who had already been through rejection, already been misunderstood, and already learned that a footballer's journey is not always a straight road. At Reading, the coaches sat him down and asked him honestly what had happened before. Then they gave him something every young player needs after disappointment: a fresh start. Reading gave Michael room to breathe. The club did not try to erase the player he already was. Brandon Flanagan and the academy staff understood that Michael's creativity was not something to be trained out of him. They gave him boundaries, but they also gave him freedom. The message was clear: this is your clean slate. Now show us what you can do. And Michael did. At Reading, he began to move from talented academy player to serious professional prospect. The training was demanding, and the older players were stronger, but Michael had a calmness that made him difficult to shake. If he was tackled, he got back up. If a defender pushed him, he brushed himself down. If a teammate gave him the ball in a tight space, Michael usually found a way out. By March 12, 2019, he had earned his professional debut. Reading were playing Leeds United at home, and though the match ended in a 3-0 defeat, it became an important date in Michael's story. Only 17 years old, he stepped onto a senior pitch and began the next stage of his career. There were still things he had to learn. Reading's coaches could see the magic in training, but they wanted him to bring more of it into matches. Mark Bowen, who worked with Michael at Reading, later remembered watching him in training glide past players, drop his shoulder, come inside and smash the ball toward goal. The challenge was convincing Michael to do those things where the stadium lights were on and the points mattered. Slowly, the lesson took hold. In September of 2020 against Barnsley at Madejski Stadium, Michael scored his first league goal for Reading. It was the kind of movement that makes a young player feel the game is opening up. The ball came to him and he volleyed it home in a 2-0 win. After all the uncertainty, after the big academies, after the clean slate, Michael was no longer just a talented prospect people whispered about. He was becoming a player who could decide matches. In the 2021 season, a breakthrough. Under Veljko Paunovic, Michael finished with 7 goals and 12 assists in the championship and was named EFL Young Player of the season. The quiet boy from West London had gone from being released by elite academies to becoming one of the brightest young players outside the Premier League. And still, one of the most telling stories from Reading was not about a goal or assist, it was about the car park. The car park. When Michael was at Reading, he was still living with his family in London. Training was not around the corner, and meant traveling out from the city, dealing with traffic, and making sure he arrived in time. For a young player trying to prove himself, who was disappointed in the past and didn't want that disappointment to come, being late was not an option. So Michael found his own solution. He left early. Very early. Sometimes he would set off around 5:30 in the morning, long before training began, because he did not want to get stuck in traffic. While other players were still asleep in their beds, Michael was already on the road. He would arrive at Reading's training ground hours before the session started, park his car, and fall asleep while he waited. Lord Bowen later recalled arriving at the training ground and seeing Michael asleep in his car. The senior players might wonder whether he was training was about to begin, but Bowen knew the truth. Michael was not careless. He had been there before almost everyone else. He was simply asleep in the car because he had left London so early. Someone would have to knock on the window and wake him up. There's something almost funny about the image, but also something deeply beautiful. Michael Olise, the player some people had once misunderstood. He wasn't lazy. He was not casual about his dream. He was so determined not to be late that he built his morning around avoiding the traffic before the traffic even began. The story illuminates us. It shows the quiet discipline behind the smooth touches. It shows the sacrifice behind the flair. It shows the relaxed expression on his face. Michael's game could look effortless, but his journey was effortful. The boy who once tapped passes against a wall in West London was sleeping in a car outside a training ground, waiting for his chance to keep getting better. And when that chance came, he was ready. In the summer of 21, after his brilliant season in Reading, Crystal Palace activated Michael's release clause and brought him to the Premier League. The fee was reported around £8 million, which would soon look like one of the smartest signings Palace had ever made. Crystal Palace was a club with energy, color, noise, and a fan base that loved players with imagination. Selhurst Park could be loud and restless, but it could also be warm toward footballers who played with courage. Michael arrived as a young player with a championship award, a quiet personality, and a left foot that seemed ready for the bigger stage. His Premier League debut came on September 11, 2021, in a 3-0 win over Tottenham Hotspur. He came on late, replacing Jordan Ayew, and though it was only a short appearance, it marked another step in the climb. The boy who had once lost his place at Chelsea and Manchester City was now on a Premier League pitch. Later that month, he made his full Palace debut against Newcastle United. Then, on October that same year against Leicester City, Michael scored his first Premier League goal. He came off the bench and found the net in a 2-2 draw, becoming Palace's youngest Premier League scorer since Clint Morrison in 1998. Palace fans began to understand what Reading fans already knew. Michael could change the feeling of a match. He did not always need to dominate every minute. Sometimes he would drift at the edge of the game, waiting for the right space, and then suddenly he would produce a touch, a pass, or a shot that made everyone sit up straighter. Under Patrick Vieira, Michael continued to grow. He became part of a Palace side with exciting young attacking talent. including Eberchi Isse, another player who understood rhythm and creativity. Together, they gave Palace moments of joy, moments when the game looked less like work and more like expression. And Michael, as always, let the football speak louder than he did. By the 2022-23 season, Michael was no longer simply a promising player. He was becoming one of the Premier League's most creative wide players. He could play from the right, drift inside on his left foot, slide past behind defenders, or slow the game down until the defender in front of him became impatient. One of his most memorable Palace performances came in April of 2023 against Leeds United. Palace won 5-1, and Michael assisted 3 goals from open play. It was a performance full of intelligence. He did not just run fast or cross hopefully. He picked the right moments, found the right teammates, and showed their creativity is not only about tricks. Creativity is about seeing what others miss. A few weeks later, on May 13th, 2023, against Bournemouth, Michael set up Eze and became the first Crystal Palace player to record 10 assists in a Premier League season. For a club like Palace, that mattered. It placed Michael into the history of the team, not as a loud leader or dramatic speaker, but as a player whose passing had changed what was possible. Still, his rise was not so simple. In August of 23, amid interest from Chelsea, he signed a new 4-year contract with Crystal Palace. It was another reminder that his career was being watched carefully. Bigger clubs were circling, but Michael's path had always been about timing. He and the people around him had learned to choose steps carefully. Then came the difficult part: injuries. A hamstring problem interrupted his rhythm, and during the 23-24 season, Michael had to spend too much time away from the pitch. For a player who loved the ball and built his confidence through touch, injury can feel like being separated from a part of yourself. He had to wait, recover, and trust the magic would still be there when he returned. When Oliver Glasner arrived as Crystal Palace manager, Michael found new life. In the spring of 2024, he returned with sharpness and confidence. On May 6, 2024, against Manchester United, he scored twice in a famous 4-0 Palace win. It felt like the whole league was watching him again. And despite playing only 19 league matches that season, he finished with 10 goals and 6 assists and earned a nomination for the PFA Young Player of the Year. And now, one of Europe's biggest clubs was ready to call. On July 7th, 2024, Bayern Munich announced the signing of Michael Olise on a 5-year contract, taking him from South London to one of the grandest clubs in world football. Bayern was not just another team. Bayern meant the Allianz Arena, Bundesliga titles, Champions League nights, and the heavy expectations that comes with wearing red in Munich. For Michael, it was a massive move, but it also made sense. He was joining a club where attacking players are expected to create, to take risks, to entertain, and to win. Bayern's sporting director, Christopher Freund, praised him as the kind of player fans come to the stadium to see. Michael, in his usual calm way, said the challenge was exactly what he wanted. His beginning in Germany showed how quickly he could adapt. In August, he made his Bayern debut in a DFB Pokal match against SSV Ulm and assisting Kingsley Coman soon after coming on. Less than a month later, in September, he scored his first Bundesliga goal in a 6-1 win over Holstein Kiel. Then in the Champions League, he announced himself at the Allianz Arena with a brace in Bayern's 9-2 win over Dinamo Zagreb. The boy who had once slept in the Reading car park was now scoring under Champions League lights. That image matters. It shows how far a journey had carried him, from Hayes to Reading, from Reading to Palace, and from Palace to Munich. He moved the same, and he still waited for defenders to lean, and still used his left foot like a paintbrush. At Bayern, the stage was bigger, but he did not seem smaller. He belonged. Michael Olise's identity was never simple, and that is part of what makes this story so beautiful. He was born in England to a British-Nigerian father and a Franco-Algerian mother, which meant he was eligible to represent England, Nigeria, Algeria, or France. 4 countries were connected to a story, and each one carried meaning. Michael has spoken about feeling lucky to come from those different places. England was where he was born and raised. Nigeria came through his father's side. France and Algeria came through his mother's. His family story stretched across borders, languages, cultures, and histories. But to play international football, he had to choose one. And in the end, Michael chose France. He had represented France at youth level, including with the under-18s and under-21s. And in 2024, he was called into France's squad for the Paris Olympics. The Olympics became another important step in his rise. Playing in France, wearing the blue shirt, he helped the team reach the final and win a silver medal. He contributed goals and assists, showing the same creativity that had made him special at club level. Then, in August of 2024, Didier Deschamps called him into the senior France squad for the first time. On September 6, 2024, Michael made his senior debut against Italy at the Parc des Princes. It was not a perfect night for France, who lost 3-1, but for Michael it was another dream made real. In March of 2025, he scored his first senior goal for France against Croatia in the Nations League quarterfinals, and also recorded an assist. For a player who had once been misunderstood in academy football, there was something powerful about seeing him contribute for one of the strongest national teams in the world. Michael had not chosen France because the rest of his identity disappeared. He carried all of it with him. England, Nigeria, France, Algeria, West London, family roots, street football, academy setbacks, and European nights. All those pieces traveled with him every time he stepped onto the field. By the time Michael had become a Bayern Munich and France player, many people had tried to describe what made him special. Some talked about his dribbling, some talked about his passing, some talked about his left foot, his balance, his calmness, or the way he could change the angle of an attack with one touch. Perhaps the word that was the simplest one, different. Michael did not look like a player who was in a hurry to impress everyone. He could stand over the ball with a defender in front of him and appear almost still. Then in one movement he would create separation. His shoulder might dip slightly, his hips might turn, his left foot might slide the ball just far enough away that the defender could not reach it. He liked to operate in the right half space where he could see the field open in front of him. From there he could cut inside, combine with teammates, switch play, or disguise a pass behind a defensive line. He had admired Neymar as a child, especially Neymar's tricky style. But Michael did not become a copy of anyone. He became himself. Michael Olise's story is not the usual underdog story. He was not overlooked because he lacked talent. In fact, many people saw his talent early. Scouts noticed him, big clubs signed him, coaches knew there was something special in him. His underdog story is different. Michael's challenge was that not everyone knew how to understand him. He was quiet, he was confident, he was creative. He did not always fit neatly into the systems around him. Chelsea let him go. Manchester City did not become the answer. For a while the path was uncertain. Then Reading gave him space to grow. Crystal Palace gave him a Premier League stage. Bayern Munich gave him a Europe's Giants shirt, and France gave him the chance to represent a dream he had carried inside childhood. Through all of it, Michael kept the same thread running through his life: the ball. That is why Michael Olise's story matters to any young soccer friend listening tonight. It reminds us that being different is not the same as being wrong. It reminds us that quiet people can carry huge dreams. It reminds us that rejection can become part of the road, not the end of it. And it reminds us that sometimes the world needs time to understand a gift. So when you think of Michael Olise, do not picture the Bayern Munich player gliding across the Allianz Arena, or the French international curling a ball with his left foot at the World Cup. Picture the boy from Hayes, picture the wall, picture a little brother chasing after him. Picture the early morning car park at Reading, where a young player slept before training because he cared so much about being on time. That is the full story. Not just flair, not just talent, not just smooth dribbling and beautiful passes. It's a dream that kept rolling, a player who proved in his own calm way that you do not have to be loud to be unforgettable. And so, soccer friend, Michael Olise's story brings us back to where it began. Not to Allianz Arena, glowing bright under Champions League lights, not to Selhurst Spark, where Crystal Palace fans rose to their feet as he danced past defenders. Not to Reading, not even to the blue shirt of France, where he carried his dream onto the international stage. It brings us back to West London, to Hayes, to a boy who kept the ball close and his belief in himself even closer. He showed us that quiet people can carry powerful dreams, that being different can become a strength. He showed us most importantly that rejection does not have to be the end of the story. And now it is perhaps time for us to rest, dream the dreams of the World Cup coming up. So, soccer friend, may your dreams be full of green fields, soft passes, clever turns, and the courage to be exactly who you are. Sleep well and dream big, soccer friends. Thanks for joining us under the stars. If tonight's story brought you joy, here are 3 simple ways to keep the magic going. 1. Become a bedtime baller. Support the podcast for the cost of a stadium churro or a matchday snack at soccerbedtimestories.com. You can find the link in the show notes as well. 2. Follow us on Instagram at MySoccerBedtime. We'd love to see where you listen, who your favorite players are, or even what bedtime looks like at your house. 3. Read the biggest soccer adventure so far. Grab a Soccer Mystery Chronicles, The Haunting of St. Mary's Stadium, and dive into the world of haunted tunnels, hidden relics, and brave sisters solving the game's greatest mystery. With your support, we'll keep telling the stories that help kids and adults fall asleep dreaming of goals, teamwork, and faraway stadiums. Sleep well and dream big, soccer friends.